All right, everybody. This is dividing using partial quotients. I made a previous video that was dividing using the area model, which is you kind of use partial quotients to do that as well. But partial quotients is probably the easiest way to divide, other than if you know the standard algorithm, because you don't have to know all your facts for partial quotients. You can just do what you know, and that's it. So with that, I'm going to do a couple of examples, and then I'm going to give you some examples to do, so you can pause the video and we can move forward from there. All right, so give me 1 second. Let me pull my examples up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start an example, and then, like I said, I'll give you some examples to do. And once again, this is a review of using partial quotients. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, oh man, didn't mean to do that. Take these away so I can write. All right, so my first example is going to be super easy. So we'll just go with it, and we'll get a little bit more difficult as we go along. All right, so my first problem, if I have 83 divided by 6, using partial quotients, I still have a brain dump, like I mentioned in the first video. You want to think of things that will help you solve this problem. So you can write your multiples out of 6. So 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, and say that's all I know. Well, let's do one more. 6 times 4 is 24. Say that's all the multiples of 6 I know. Well, that's okay, because with partial quotients, that makes it easy. So I've got my little doghouse here. 83 is in the house, and 6 is on the outside. So we want to know how many times can 6 go into 83. Well, I know 6 times 4, that's my largest one. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 24. And I'm going to write the number 4 out here to the side. And I'm going to subtract. Well, I can't take 4 from 3, so I'm going to have to regroup. I'm going to make that 13 and make this a 7. So 13 minus 4 is 12, 11, 10, 9. And then 7 minus 2 is 5. So now I'm at 59. How many times can 6 go into 59? Okay, well, I can use 4 again and do 24. Or I can use 3 and do 18. So let's do 3 and do 18, just to change things up. I'm going to subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. So now I'm at 41. 6 can still go into 41. So I'm going to use 24 again. I'm going to use 4. I'm going to subtract. I can't take 4 from 1, so I make it an 11 by regrouping and change the 4 to a 3. 11 take away 4 is 10, 9, 8, 7. 3 minus 2 is 1, so I'm left with 17. And then I see that 6 can still go into 17, looks like 2 times. So I'm going to say, okay, 12. I subtract 7, 6, 5, and so I'm left with 5. So this is how I know I'm finished. When my remainder down here is less than my divisor, which is 6. So I'm going to have a remainder in this one of 5. But what I've got to do is I've got to add all of these partial quotients up together. So 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 3 is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So my answer, or my quotient, is 13, remainder 5. Okay, so that's pretty simple. So let me show you a different one. All right, so let's look at this one. This problem is 824 divided by 4. Okay, so this is a really big number. This is where our multiples come in, and kind of going back to that brain dump. So I'm going to start off with what I know. Well, I know it's going to be a big number. So I'm going to say, well, I know 4 times 100 is 400. 4 times 200 is 800. And then, I know my multiples of 4, and if you don't, well, then you can just go ahead and write what you do know. Is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, and we can stop there. So that's all I know. So now I'm going to rewrite this and make it into the proper form. Okay, so I know that 4 can go into 824 200 times. I'm going to start with that, 200. And I know that's 800. When I subtract, I get 24. I've got 4 can still go into 24. So if I only know 4 times 3, well, that's okay. I'm going to write 12 right here. I'm going to write 12 right here. Let me erase this. But I know that 4 times 3 is 12. When I subtract, I get 12. So I still have 12 left over. Well, obviously I know that once again I can use 3 again because 4 times 3 is 12. When I get 12, I subtract and I get 0. So now all I have to do is add these partial quotients together. So 200 plus 3 is 203, plus 3 more is 206. So my quotient is 206. So this is the easiest way, like I said, to do division, is using partial quotients. You can write it and circle it on the test, or you can always write it up here, whatever you prefer. But let's do another example. Okay, let's do 658 divided by 2. Once again, I'm going to write out my multiples of 2, but I know it's going to be a big number, so it's easier just to start with, if I know 2 times 1 is 2, I know 2 times 10 is 20. So if I know that, then I know 2 times 100 is 200. Okay, well, then I can just follow the pattern. 2 times 200 is 400. 2 times 300 is 600. 2 times 400 is 800. Okay, but that's too big. So once again, I want to go back to my multiples of 2 and single digit. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 would be 5. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 7 is 14. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this as 658, and I'm going to divide it all by 2. I'm going to start with the highest number that I know, which is 2 times 300, 600. So I've got 300 written out to the side because that's what I'm multiplying by. And then I know 2 times 300 is 600. When I subtract, I get 58. Okay, well, 2 can still go into 58 a lot of times. And so what I would do is I would look at my single digits and I would be like, okay, well, what could I change to a power of 10 and place a 0 at the end to get me close to 58? Well, if I know 2 times 3 is 60, then that means 2 times 30 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6, then that means 2 times 30 is 60. Or so that's too big. It's too big for 58. So I'm going to go back to 2 times 2 is 4. Well, if I know 2 times 2 is 4, then I know 2 times 20 is 40. So I'm going to use that. So I'm going to place 20 on the side. I know 2 times 20 is 40. I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to get 18. Well, this is one that I know. What times 2 gives me 18? 9 does. 18 minus 18 is 0. I'm finished because I have a remainder of 0. So now all I have to do is add these partial quotients together. 320 plus 9 more is 329. And there is no remainder here. So you can write it and circle it or write it up here, 329. Either work for me. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples to try on your own now. So pause the video and work on this process. The first example I'm going to give you is 228 divided by 4. The second example is 565 divided by 5. The third example is 936 divided by 6. And then the last example I'm going to give you is 954 divided by 6. Okay, so work on these, try these at home, and then if you have any questions, bring them into class tomorrow and I can hopefully help answer your questions. All right? Good luck.